Okay. So good evening. Tere. How you say good evening in Estonian?
Tere õhtust.
Tere õhtust. Okay. I know only tere hommikut, not tere õhtust. Okay. So we are in the last parasha in the book, the first book of Torah, the book of Bereshit, the last parasha called Vayechi. In Hebrew, Vayechi means and he lived. Who we talking about? We're talking about Yaakov, our third father, Yaakov, living in Egypt, his last 17 years of life. And we're talking about actually the story of the death of Yaakov, the passing of Yaakov, but with the name of the parasha, and he lived. And it's symbolic and to Judaism. In the parasha that we're talking about the death of Yaakov, we're calling the parasha and he lived. Why? Because we know that after the passing of a great person, we can see if he was alive or he was just not dying, you know. There is people that they are not dying and there is people that they were alive. And great people, if we want to see if the work that they did was successful, we can see that after the death, and the life of Yaakov was so powerful that until today, we as grandsons of Yaakov learning about him. So he was absolutely alive. And he's still alive. After he died, he's still alive because his grandparents and granddaughters are keeping his memory and all his work. But what is the story? What is the story of our parasha? So as we said, we're talking about the life of Yaakov in Egypt. Yaakov came to Egypt because his 11th son, Yosef, is the king of Egypt, the vice king of Egypt. And he is the manager of all food in the Middle East. There is no food. Only in Egypt there is food. Not in Egypt. In Pharaoh's palace, there is the only place that there is food, and everybody need to buy. And Yosef, inviting his family from Canaan, from the land of Israel, to live with him in the land of Goshen. It's a special territory that Yosef chose. Very good territory, actually. The land of Goshen is near the delta near Cairo in Egypt, as most of the people that try to know that. This is the common opinion that we're talking about somewhere very close to Cairo. I don't know if you're hearing that. There is this... I cannot hear myself thinking, so I hope I'm saying... Okay. They living there, and our parasha start telling the story of Yaakov getting old, and he saying goodbye to all his family. He's saying goodbye, first of all, to Yosef and his family, and then to the rest of the children. This is the old parasha. And then the death of Yosef himself, and in the next book of Torah, book of Shmot, we start learning about the history of the Jewish nation as a nation being slave in Egypt. And after that, after a few hundred years, Moshe taking everybody out from Egypt. But this is the next book. Here we're talking about the end of the life of our father and the 12 tribes in Egypt. Okay. In the beginning of the parasha, there is very famous and very interesting discussion between Yaakov and his kid Yosef. Yosef hearing from the palace that his father he's in his final days or hours, and he's taking his two sons to his father. And they're coming to visit Yaakov. Yaakov is old. The Torah said that his eyes is heavy. It's Hebrew expression in Hebrew. He cannot see because he's old. His eyes is heavy. It's also in English there is such an expression. I don't think so. His eyes is heavy. Einav kavdu. העיניים שלו כבדות. His eyes is heavy. And he's meeting his two grandsons and he's hugging them and he's kissing them and he's telling Yosef, I did not imagine that I will see you, because as we know, Yaakov thought for 22 years that his son Yosef died. And after 22 years, he heard that Yosef is alive. He's not only alive, he remembering his father, and he want to meet him in Egypt. And Yaakov telling Yosef, I did not imagine that I will see you. And I seeing not only you, also your children I see. And then Yaakov wants Yosef to do with him a good deed. And Yaakov wants that Yosef will swear that he will do it. What is that? That he will bury Yaakov in the land of Israel, not in Egypt. And Yosef swearing to his father, and we know why Yaakov need to really encourage Yosef not to bury Yaakov in Egypt, is because Yaakov himself did not bury Rachel in Hebron. He buried Rachel in Bethlehem. Yes. 1 second. So Yaakov was afraid that Yosef have something in his heart on his father. Why did you not bury my mother with you? You buried her in a place alone. So Yaakov telling him that I knew what I'm doing, and I asking you to forgive me and to bury her, to bury me where my father is buried and my grandfather is buried. 1 second, I want to check something here. How you say in English? 1 second. You know what the Egyptian did to the bodies after the death? Emblaming. You know what is emblaming?
Wasn't it that they are feeding it to the animal or leaving it somewhere so the birds are eating it?
No, it's not that. Emblaming it is that they taking the body and like preserving. You know that we have the body of Tutankhamun. What's his name? Tutankhamun. One of the pharaohs. We have the bodies of the pharaohs. Why? Because the Egyptian had some technique. They took the inner organs out and they covered the body with some, and they preserved the bodies. And I'm mentioning that because it's very interesting. Because according to the Jewish law, you need to bury all the person in the ground with all his organs. And the Torah mentioned that Yaakov and Yosef had this, it's called in English, emblaming, I think it's called. Yes? I think this is the word.
Yes.
And usually they're doing it by taking out the inner organs. So there is a discussion, maybe if they did it to Yaakov or did not, and if they did, if it was good or not. And it's interesting discussion. Okay. The next, and then Yaakov calling all, the next story. Yosef taking his two children to his father that he will bless his children. The name of the children of Yosef, we will talk about it later. Their name was Menashe and Ephraim. Menashe was born first, and the second one was Ephraim. Yaakov, Yosef taking his older son, Menashe, putting him in his left, in the right side of his father Yaakov, and Ephraim in his right, in the left side of his father Yaakov. Yes? And Yaakov taking his both hands and doing like that. Putting his right hand on Ephraim, his left hand on Menashe. His left hand, we know that the right side is the more stronger side on people that are righty. So usually to honor someone, we put him in the right side. So Yaakov changed his hands. And as we mentioned, Yaakov was not seeing. He did not saw. He was old. And Yosef trying to remove his father's hand, and he said no. He doesn't approve. And Yosef telling him, Menashe is the older son. So Yaakov said, I know. But Ephraim, he would have much more. He's the tribe of Ephraim. The people that will come from this son will be greater. So Ephraim is more important, not Menashe. And he giving them blessings, and he also declaring that Menashe and Ephraim is one of the 12 tribes. They are like generation above, like the tribes. The 12 tribes are all the sons of Yaakov. And they, even though they are grandsons, they have upgrade to be like sons of Yaakov. And then these parts end, and then Yaakov giving blessing and talking about every son that he have. Not only blessings, also telling the tribes to be careful. He's saying about few tribes that they have a certain character, that they need to be careful with that. They too much angry, or they like that. So he giving blessing and telling them his final words. And this is it. In the end, he died. All Egypt's crying for him, honoring him, and then Yosef asking from Paro permission to go back to Israel, to bury his father like he wish, and they all going back, burying him, coming back to Egypt, living there, and then eventually all the tribes died until Yosef died. And Yosef, before he died, passing, he's saying, you staying now in Egypt until God will send someone to take you out from here. So we see here that they all knew the plan. The plan was that God told it Abraham, their grandfather, 200 years before, and they all knew it, that they're going to a foreign land, not their land, to live there, and then God will take them from there to Israel. And that's what Yosef, this is his final words. And with that words is complete the book of Bereshit, the first book of the Torah. Now I will talk about the details of the first story. It's very, very interesting. The discussion between Yaakov and Yosef, and Menashe and Ephraim, and right hand and left hand, and what's going on. First of all, we had two details that I want to see from the psukim, how the Torah say the words in Hebrew that we will see, and what one of the commentaries, the great commentaries on the Torah explaining, and how we can learn it deeper. The two details are like that. First detail I mentioned, the Torah said that Yaakov did not see well. He was blind. He was almost blind. But he did not saw. As we said in Hebrew, they were heavy. The eyes was heavy. And what we need to understand here, as we know, the Torah not explain, telling us random details. The Torah did not describing if Yaakov was tall or short. He was gingy. He was the Torah not telling us the story. Yes, so every detail of the Torah is concerning the story. So we can see here that maybe it's concerning the story because Yosef maybe thought that Yaakov doesn't know who is the oldest, but still we need to understand why the Torah telling us this detail. And the second detail is, this is from the expression of the Torah. The Torah did not say Yosef giving his two children to his father, to Yaakov, and Yaakov hugging them and kissing them. But the Torah not saying hugging them and kissing them. The Torah saying in Hebrew, Vayechabek lahem, Vayenashek lahem. In Hebrew we can say Vayechabek otam, he kisses them and he hugging them. But the Torah did not say that. It said he kisses, like there is no connection. He kissing of them. He hugging of them. Like strange way of expression. He's not kissing them and hugging them. He kissing something of them. This is the way of the expression. And one of the commentaries of the Torah, his name was the Or HaChaim, Rabbi Chaim Ben Attar, 500 years ago, maybe less, probably less. And he is saying that from that we can learn maybe that because he didn't saw, so he did not kiss them in the proper place. He did not kiss them in their face, in their forehead. He just, because he didn't saw, and he was probably very emotional. So he just grabbed them and kissed them. So it was in random places. So he did not kiss them, he kisses something of them. So this is what the Torah is trying to hint here. Because he didn't saw. So he explaining the two details. This is the explanation. And we can learn it a little bit in a deeper way. And I want to learn all this chapter in a deeper level. So we have the two ways of looking at the situation. Yosef telling his father, you're doing something wrong. You're doing it like that, it's wrong. It's not correct. And Yaakov saying, no, I'm doing something in the right order. So first of all, let's say a little bit in the psychological, psychological way. Why to do something like that? It's unnatural, you know. The right side, the right hand in the right side, and the left hand in the left side. Even though Menashe is not the Bechor, he is the Bechor, it doesn't matter. To do like this. Oh, 1 second. Where's Aaron? To do like that, it's something strange. So Yosef, Aaron, you with us?
Yes.
It's good to see you.
Okay.
So Yaakov doing like that, and Yosef telling him something here is it's not symmetric. It's not nice. It's strange. It's not logical. to change your hands. Why are you doing like that? And Yaakov telling him, I know it's not logical. And you know, sometimes a person can do something not logical. That's what he's telling him. You saying everything need to be in the right order? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. And I will explain. We have the two sons, and we said their name. The older son was Menashe, the younger son was Ephraim. What is Menashe? What is Ephraim? And the Torah explains what is the meaning of the names. Menashe is about forgetting. Yosef was 17 years old when he left his father's home against his will. By his brothers, was sent away, and he was a slave, and he was in jail for 10 years. So his first son, after he got married, his first son, he said, Menashe, I'm feeling so away from my home. I'm start to forget my education. I'm start forgetting Menashe, it's about what he misses. Yosef missing his house, missing his home, and it's about the lack of Jewish life in his life today. He is the Pharaoh of Egypt. He was involved in Egyptian ways. He needed to be part. And it's not the house of Yaakov, our father Yaakov. It's not the same house. It's not the same place. So the first son is Menashe. God took me out from this life, and I am now in a totally different place. And it's about how he miss his old life. This is the first son. The second son is totally the opposite. Ephraim, it's about to be fruitful, let's say. Fruitful means that you have fruit from your work, of your investment. Meaning, it's about the work here. I'm here and I'm working good and I see fruit from my work. I'm successful here. 1 second. Okay. Hi.
Shalom.
Hi, how are you?
I was out, so I couldn't join you at the right time. Sorry for that.
So I will say again that you will be right in where we're at. We are in the middle of explaining the differences between the two sons of Yosef. The older son was Menashe. It's about everything that he misses in his father's house, about forgetting about the lack of Jewish life in his current situation in Egypt. Ephraim is about the work that you have today. It's not about the past. The past is the past. I'm here in Egypt. I'm working. I'm successful. And I see fruit from my work. This is the two sons. Now the question is, if a person looking on himself, there is experiment that someone suggested that I will do in that meeting. If you know this experiment, please do not tell. This is the experiment. You know this experiment. Shahab, you remember this experiment.
Yes, I remember. Sorry to be quiet.
Yes, you can open your microphones. The question is, you see the paper? And you see what there is in the paper?
Sorry, you're asking everyone? Or
You can just tell me, what do you see in the paper? What do you see I'm holding? What I'm holding in my hand? Avraham. Also, you can open. It's not hard. It's very simple.
You're holding a white page. Yes. I did not see it so well. It's some dots or something.
Okay. Elena?
Well, if it's that simple, I'm trying to kind of
It's
find
the
out
most
very
simple that can be.
limited explanation, because
It's very, very
just
simple.
sheet of white paper is probably not what you want to hear. Well,
You
maybe universe and some kind of a...
It's not the universe. It's
I know, sometimes banana is just banana, but, well, okay, paper, yeah, paper and sensor.
Eric, you want to add something? I don't hear you. Now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I remember an anecdote when I was younger. There were a lot of anecdotes of, long story short is that it could be a Chabad rabbi in a white room from above.
This is very nice. This is very, very nice.
Black hat, white room above. That's right. I also remember. Yes. There were a lot of anecdotes about rabbi from the above.
Okay, so you all did very good, but the experiment want to show that I'm holding white paper with black dot. This is it, not more, not less, and our mind focus in the black dot, trying to figure out what is it. The black dot is that. It's what I'm holding. You're holding white paper. There is some black dot there. This is true. I'm not saying there isn't, but there is. But it's just a small dot. All the rest of the paper is just paper. It's white. It's white clean. Yes. So this is exactly the question. My mother doing this experiment, and she did it, and Shab was in the event that she did it. She's doing it much better. But the point is very simple. And this is what Yaakov wanted to show Yosef. You cannot focus. You're saying my older son is Menashe. Is my forgetting the lack of Jewish life and how I'm lacking. I'm in Egypt, I lived in Egypt. I don't remember Hebrew. It's not true. He remembered Hebrew, but he was for 22. He was most of his life not living a Jewish life. And he lived a Jewish life, but not in a Jewish way. He was in Egypt. He was a king. He was busy with the Egyptian kingdom and all the rest of what it was involving. And Yosef putting his Menashe, is forgetting, in the right side, and Binyamin in his left. And Yaakov doing like that. Why to focus on the black dot, Yosef, dot? Focus on Ephraim. Focus in what you achieve here in Egypt. Focus in the Jewish life that you have here. Focus on your mission. Focus on your success. Focus on your good side. We don't need to forget the Menashe, to forget what we lacking. But we need to know what our main focus is. What is the definition of ourselves? Definition of ourselves is white paper. It's not black dot. Yes? In every Jew there is two sides. And the main size of a Jew is that he is a Jew. And if we're talking about Jew, what does that mean? It's meaning that God chose him to be a beloved son. So the question is, if you're focusing on that side or the other side. What is the other side? The other side is the natural side. It's not something bad also. Not necessarily, of course, not necessarily bad. But the question is if we choosing the godly side inside us or the human side. We need to combine them both and to know that we are chosen sons of God. We have a mission, we have success, we're doing good, we're working good. And this is the point that Yaakov showed Yosef. Now I want to go a little bit further into the details a little bit of the story. As we mentioned, Yaakov did not see Menashe and Ephraim. He did not saw. And he just embraced them. He did not saw even what he kissing. He kisses their hand, he kissed their everywhere. He kissed them because he did not saw. And this is also in depth what Yaakov said to Yosef. And now I will a little bit go into the details of the words of Torah. And I will just mention, because it's the second time, all our shiur today talking about the details of the words, what we can learn from the way that the Torah explaining herself. There is expression in Hebrew, עצם, כשאתה תופס במקצתו, אתה תופס בכולו. It's a long one. We don't need to memorize it. But the meaning, if we now understanding very well from the example of DNA, that if we're talking about the thing itself at its core, you cannot, in every part of it, there is all of it. Yes? If we're talking about the body, in every part of the body, you can take the old DNA and you can know everything about this DNA. Why? Because the core of the person, it's in everything. You cannot divide it. And if you're taking part, you're taking everything. If I can take one hair from my hair and I have everything, all my DNA. And the same thing about Torah. Torah, if we're going into the deep depth of Torah, into the insight, into the meaning, into the lesson, so we can find in any small detail of Torah a lesson that have inside all the Torah inside. Because if we're talking about the thing itself, you cannot divide it. There is everything inside. I hope the point is clear. The idea is clear. So, there is a word that we find 3 times in the book of Bereshit. Vayema'en. Yema'en is mean to refuse. To refuse. The 3rd time that we find it, it's in our Parashat. Yosef told his father, change your hands. And Yaakov refused. No, I don't want to. And the first time that we find it in our book, it's when the brothers telling the father, the 12 tribes telling Yaakov, their father, Yosef, your son died. And he refused to believe it. He refused. Vayema'en, the same words. The same word, Vayema'en. And the second time was when Yosef was in Egypt. And the wife of his master trying to be with him. Wanted him to be to have intimacy relations. And Yosef refused, Vayema'en. So those are the 3 times. First time it's about Yaakov. Second time is about Yosef. Third time is again about Yaakov when they are together, Yosef and Yaakov. First time Yaakov was alone. Second time Yosef was alone. And the third time they are together. And this is the story. Yosef wants his father to change his hands. It's not in the right order. It's not supposed to be like that. First of all, is the missing. This is the first thing. What we are lack. And the other part of us, it's what we achieve. This is what Yosef is saying. Because a person needs to be in balance, always to look on itself in balance. But Yaakov said, no. What you achieve, this is the main core of you. The success is the main core of you. What you're lacking is something that you need to remember, but it's not the personality of yours. And how it's connected to Vayemaen. So again, if we're learning it in a deeper way, we understand it more. The 12 tribes looked on Yosef, 11 brothers looking at Yosef and saying, he is not part of us, he's not one of us. We talked about it in the previous weeks. They said that Yosef is not part of them, he's not Jewish enough. He's not in the good ways. And Yaakov refusing. Yaakov said, no, I do not accept that. I do not accept that. If he's doing wrong, maybe he's doing wrong, but I do not accept that he's not one of us. And this gave Yosef, this is the first Vayemaen, the first refuse of Yaakov. The second refuse is that Yosef refusing. In the same time in Egypt, Yosef refusing to be in relation with the master's wife. Why? Because he got the power from his father. His father did not accept that he is not one of us. And this gave Yosef the power. That's why the Torah is saying the same expression. What gave Yosef the power to fight this great situation? It was very, very difficult for him. He was a slave. As we talked previous weeks, he was a slave. No one knew who he was. No one knew him. His family didn't know him. He was 17, he was 18, he was young. And he's saying no, no, and no. What gave him this power? His father always looked at him and saw that you are one of us. You are representing all of us. You have the power of all of us. And that's why the Torah is saying the same word. Yaakov refusing to accept that he died, and Yosef continuing it and refusing to do something wrong. Now we have the third refusal. Yaakov doing like that, Yosef telling his father, change your hands. Yaakov said, no, I refuse. Why? Because Yosef, remember what's going on here. You cannot look on the negative. You cannot look on what you're lacking. Because if I would look on what you're lacking, you did not have had the power. All reason that you have the power is because I looked up on the Ephraim side. I looked on the good side of you and I believed in you. Now you need also to believe in yourself and to put Ephraim first. The side of creation, of dreaming and building and working and have success. You need to look on that side also. And this was the last lesson of Yaakov to Yosef. That in all the way, throughout all those years, it was the Vayema'en, the refusal. Yaakov refuses to accept that Yosef is not one of us. Yosef refusing, because of that, Yosef have his power of his father. And in our parasha, Yaakov to Yosef. This is through looking into the details, into the words, we can learn a lot of beautiful things. I will connect it to a few details, but that also we find and we talked in the book of Bereshit, that it will be a little bit complete of the book. We know that the kings of Israel came from the tribe of Yehuda. Yehuda, the brother of Yosef, was the king of the 12 tribes, and King David came from him a few generations after. A lot of generations after. And from King David was all the Judea kings, and they were the main kings of the Jewish nation. Yehuda was the son of Leah, the wife of Yaakov, and Yosef was the son of Rachel. We talked a few weeks ago that the differences between Rachel and Leah, Rachel was beautiful, was the beloved wife. Leah was not beautiful as Rachel. And we explained that beautiful means that she was perfect. She was a perfect person. She was born, and from childhood, everything was perfect. She's good to the friends, good daughter. She's looking beautiful. Everybody love her. She's smart. Everything is perfect. And there is people like Leah. She needs to cry. She always crying. She needs to work hard to achieve something. Not everything is perfect. She's working very hard. And most of the Jewish people are the grandsons of Leah, not of Rachel. Because most of the people need to work hard to achieve something. This is the way that God created us. But there is people that they're perfect. They're growing up and everything going smoothly, everything fine. And Yosef was the son of Rachel. And he himself is the only male that the Torah is saying that he was beautiful. The only male. Why? Because he was beautiful like his mother. Even though he had a lot of challenges, and we cannot say his life was perfect, but he was perfect. He was a complete person. He have powers and he have success, and in everything that he did, even in jail, immediately he became the minister of the jail, because everybody saw this is a person, great person. His personality was awesome, yes. And his father showed him that you need to remember that not only to be everything perfect. You need to focus on that. You need to the great perfectness coming from focusing on the success that you have. Focusing on the success. And his brother Yehuda, that was the king, and all the kings after him came from Yehuda, we know that he had the opposite story. He did a mistake, and we talked about it. He did a great mistake, and he almost killed Tamar, his daughter-in-law, and then she was his wife. But when he saw the mistake, he immediately said, I had a mistake. And from that we're learning that the differences between them. Yehuda was the main king. Why? Because Yehuda had mistakes and said, I have mistake, I'm sorry. Yosef needed to learn his own way, his different way, to focus on the success. And I'm mentioning also Yehuda that because we know that Yosef is one way and Yehuda is another way. There is people that more relate to admit to the mistakes and move on. And there is people that it's not good for them. They need to focus on the success. Everybody need to remember their mistakes, because without Menashe, Yaakov did not say to Yosef, throw Menashe out. Menashe need to stay, and he is great, and great people will come from him. But the main focus should be on Ephraim. This is the main thing that I wanted to say, and I want to mention another small thing, small idea. Our sages telling us, and we can learn it from the words in the Torah, but I will not show it right now, that Yaakov, before he blessed all his sons, he wanted to tell them when Mashiach will come. And God took from him this ability, this knowledge God took from Yaakov. This is what our sage is telling us. And he did not tell them. He wanted to tell, and he didn't tell. So the Rabbi want to understand what's going on. How come Yaakov want to do something and God not letting him? It's very strange why he would want to do something against the will of God, and why he wanted to tell them that Mashiach will come 4,000 years after. What is the purpose of this conversation? What's going on? And the Rebbe explaining a very, very beautiful thing. Yaakov, and it's beautiful because we learn from it a little bit the view of our work today. Yaakov did not want to tell them that Mashiach will come in 2020. We have a few hours to 2020, yes? Yeah? So he did not want to tell them that Mashiach will come in 2020. No, he want to tell them that Mashiach can come if you will work very, very hard in Egypt. He will come now. This is what he wanted to tell them. He didn't talk about Mashiach that we waiting for. He talked about the same idea of Mashiach that can come much before. That's what he wanted to tell them. Because Mashiach is something that coming after the work of the world. And Yaakov wanted to tell them, if you will prepare the world in the right way, Mashiach will come. Because Mashiach is the complete of the work of humankind. So if you work hard and spread the word and prepare the world, Mashiach will come. Okay, very good. So why God refuses that Yaakov will tell that to the Jewish people? Why? What's the problem? So God will let Yaakov say that. Yeah, this is the question. And here the Rebbe explaining something very, very powerful. God did not Yaakov even to tell the Jewish people this idea that if they will work hard, Mashiach will come. And this is, we need to understand why. It's a little bit deep. All the purpose of the Jewish people work in the world is that the world itself will understand the necessity and the meaning of Mashiach. And the Jewish people will do that work with their own powers. Why God did challenges? Because He wants people to overcome the challenges. And when you overcome something, it's yours. When you achieve something after work, it means that you have it. It's your own. If someone gave it to you, it's not your own. God wants the Mashiach will come after work. And not only work. He wants the human people to own Mashiach. Understand? If you're working on it, and you achieve that because you deserve it, this is the complete way that Mashiach can come. So Yaakov will tell the 12 tribes, his last words would be, do everything you can and Mashiach will come. So they will be, Father told us. So let's do this and that, we'll do a list, spread the words. And God saw it as not good for the Jewish people that Mashiach can come, but it will be not in the best way. The best way that Mashiach, that we will deserve the gift of Mashiach, what it means that Mashiach will come. Mashiach comes, it means that all the world and all creations understand better their mission. This is what it means. That everybody understands that God created him and why. We have godly spark. We have some godly energy inside us. And God wants us to do everything that we can to reveal this spark. This is Mashiach. Of course, there is a person, there is a human being, but he coming with the idea. It's not only the human being that giving freedom and peace. Freedom and peace and everything coming with the understanding of God deeply. The mission in our life and everything. And God wants the humans to deserve it. To own it. To own it. When you're giving a person gift, there is a very big, and I mentioned him, I think, few times, Professor Dan Ariely. You heard about him? Dan Ariely, I mentioned him a few times, I think, here. He's Israeli professor living in America. And he has very famous theory, research, that if you're giving we will say the research is like that. A person that built a table from IKEA will appreciate the table of IKEA that he built in the wrong way, of course, because it's not simple. But after you building it, you will appreciate the table much more than a table that you will buy, maybe even in higher price in other stores and you didn't build. Because a person appreciates his own work much more. Not only appreciate, he feel connected to it. He feel it's his. So this is what God wants. He wants you to feel connected to the idea of Mashiach. He wants that you will feel that you deserve it. He wants you to feel that it's your mission in life. And if your father, Yaakov, telling you to do it, it's because of your father. This is the last idea that I want to say, because we need to learn from it about everything in life, and especially about this subject also. When we learning Torah, when we doing some good deed, we preparing the world to Mashiach. Why? Because we're preparing the world to be a better place. This is Mashiach. And not only that, it connected to us. Mashiach will come because you did the world good place. It's connected to us. It's belong to us, and we deserve it, and we own it. This is the idea that I wanted to learn from it. Now I'll do quick summarize on what I said today. The first story in our parasha is that blessing that Yaakov giving his two grandsons. Before the blessing, his very famous blessing, Hamalach HaGoel, and Yesimcha Elokim, before that blessing, Yaakov putting his hands in the opposite way, his right in the left and his left in the right. And we explained that Yaakov wanted to teach Yosef something very special. I am a blind person. What does that mean? I see something, the lack of something. I see lack. I see the Menashe representing the lack of something, the forgetting of something. But I kiss them, doesn't matter where, because I don't care. And this is the power of Yosef. This is where the power of Yosef came from. This is what Yaakov showing Yosef. You need to know that what you achieve and what you work on and what the success that you have, this is the main part of you, the Ephraim. The right hand should be on Ephraim because this is your success. And you need to embrace Ephraim to know that this is your thing, but you cannot forget Menashe. Even when you cannot see, you're blind, you don't want to see Menashe. But you need to hug them and to believe in them, to see the good side. This is the first thing that we said, and this is we connected to the three Vayema'en. Yaakov did not accept that Yosef died, that he does not belong to the Jewish nation. Yosef did not refused to temptation, and now Yaakov again refusing to change his hands because he believed in the success. Then the second idea that we said is about Yaakov not telling the Jewish people anything about redemption, about Mashiach. Why? Because God wants the Jewish work to be only from their side, from their powers, not to involve any motivation that not belong to them. He wants the Jewish people to have motivation from themselves. Why? Because Mashiach is something that belongs to every Jew, that it connects to every Jew. And every good deed that we're doing today is basically saying we own the world to be a good... We deserve that the world will be a better place. It belongs to us. These are the two ideas in short. Thank you very much. We have